Morning and welcome to the Sunday Sunshine Show that's brought to you by the Transatlantic Housewives of YouTube. That's myself, Tina and Maria. And Tina and Maria both are English, they both live in England, and all three of us are over 50. So basically all three of our channels are over 50 lifestyle channels, and every Sunday we do a collaboration where we choose a different topic and we all put our own spin on it. So this week we're going to be sharing some of our photos and the stories behind them. But first, let me introduce you to Tina and Maria's channel. So I've dug out just a few and I'm going to put my hand on some and just pull them out randomly. First picture is, oh gosh, I don't even remember when this was taken. Looking at me, I would say I was probably about 33, and this was us at the Grand Canyon. And we never went to the South Rim, which is the most popular side, where pretty much if you're going to book a coach trip from Las Vegas to the Grand Canyon, they're going to take you to the south side. We went up to the north side where it's more pine trees and Swiss chalets, and we stayed in a log cabin this weekend. And on this weekend we actually took my mum and my auntie because they were over in America visiting. So that's the first photo. The next photo is going back a long time. It's when we went to Lanzarote, and this was one of those, you know, photos that they take when you go on a trip. Then they put it in one of these little envelopes. But this is myself and my husband, and in this picture I think I probably was about 23. So my husband would have been 34. No, 23. Yeah, my husband would have been 34. And we went on a camel ride up a volcano, and at the top of the volcano was a restaurant, and they had a fire pit, and what they did was they dug a hole into the ground and they kind of made it look like a well, and they put a metal rack on, and then they would cook the steaks over the heat of the volcano. And they said to us, anyone that wants to look over, feel free, just make sure that you do not wear contact lens because they will melt onto your eyeball. And so I took a deep breath and I looked over, and I couldn't keep my face over for more than a second. I mean, it was a very quick experience, but it was a fun one. I'm glad we did that. But it was a very dry, arid landscape. I mean, black beaches. So if you've never been to the Canary Islands, it's definitely an experience. This next picture, I think I probably would have been about 26. We went to Amsterdam for the weekend and took a picture of us going on a river cruise, and this was just like a little postcard thing that they put together. The glare of the photograph, sorry. So if you know my channel and you know me, you know that I love to garden, and I said that I got my love of gardening from my mum and dad. Now my mum was mainly the flower gardener and my dad was the vegetable gardener. And as I was going through my box of photographs, I found some pictures of my mum and dad's garden. Now it was on a very steep slope. Am I putting these photos there? It was on a very steep slope. Now behind those hedges at the very top of the hill was the vegetable patch. But my dad installed these steps to go up to the top of the garden. We had a little birdhouse. And then pretty much every English garden has one of these. A triangle clothes dryer. We don't have them over here in America, and you know when you pass an English person's house is when you see one of those in the back garden. So let me show you our first American house. Now when we moved to America, my husband's company put us up in temporary lodging for 30 days. So we had about 3 days to find a house that we wanted to buy and close within, you know, that 30-day range so we could move straight in. Otherwise we would have had to have rented a house. Now back then you couldn't rent a house for less than a year, and we didn't want to fall into that. So we found a house that we liked and bought it, and it was a single story house. That's what it looked like. But if you remember my video, was it last week, where we talked about things we didn't like? This house had 2 living rooms. You walked into the front door, you walked into the first living room and dining room, and then you walked a little bit further, you walked into a kitchen, then you walked into another dining room and living room, which was the living room that we hung out in basically. But yeah, I like that house. We were on a cul-de-sac. There was, I think, 6 homes altogether. Some were single story, some were double story, but this was our back garden. It was huge. And when you move into a house in Las Vegas, that's what you'll get. You'll get dust and sand as a back garden. And if you live in a HOA, you have to have your garden done within 6 months of moving into a house, which is incredibly expensive for just moving into a new home. You know, you think you've got to buy new curtains, new furniture most of the time. But yeah, that was so that was the back. And then we had a whole garden on one side and another whole garden on the other side. So on one side, we built a pool, and we built a massive pool. It was ginormous. If you saw my Las Vegas home that we just moved from, we had a pool, but it was a small one. This one, I'm gonna have to put 2 photographs together. It was huge. It was 20 foot wide by 40 foot long. And we had a lot of fun pool parties in this pool, but it was a lot of work, a lot of cleaning down the sides, a lot of brushing. Right, let's go back in time. Let me take you to my teenage room. This was my bedroom. So who remembers Dusty the Bin from that game show? I think it was called Bullseye. My sister-in-law's sister knew someone that made these, so she made me a little pink fluffy one. Do you remember this toy here? It's a bit fuzzy, but he's Sweep from Sooty and Sweep, and I still have that teddy bear. And then this little doll here, a family member bought this for me, and I can't remember what country it was from, but you turned it and you stood it on a stand and it went round and it played music. But my dad installed these big built-in cupboards that all my clothes and toys went in. This picture here is a better picture. So that was my bedroom. I had a Paddington Bear poster, and then this here, who remembers these? This was like a picture you built yourself. So you had a black piece of velvet, you had pins, and you had sequins, and you would have to put them in the certain numbers to build the picture. But quite honestly, that's quite scary, isn't it? That clown. I made this little fluffy toy here. Oh, who remembers those cassette tapes? They were awesome. What day was it? Every Sunday was the top 40, I think it was. And you'd sit there and you would record it on your tape recorder. And then this picture here, Tina, you'll like this one. This is a picture of Cliff Richard. So that was my teenage bedroom. Now, if you've heard me whine on about I would love baby goats, you know, the little dwarf goats that they have a lot of them here in Texas that you can buy, and I would love them. This is the reason why. This is me. We went to a place called Guyton Power, but opposite my aunt's house, they had a goat farm, and that's why I love goats so much. So this is me feeding the goats, and I was 7 in this picture. This goat here is hilarious. Yeah, that's where I got my love of goats from. This picture here is basically within the first 6 months of me ever meeting my husband. There we are in our back garden. I have some huge 80s hair there. Now, one of the fun things that I did as a child, I was 16, we went on a week's vacation with the school and we went rock climbing and caving, abseiling, canoeing, I mean, it was everything. But one of the things we did for a day trip is we climbed Snowdon. And this is, can you see which one is, can you guess which one is me? It's this one here. And I've got my dad's old post office waterproof pants on. My dad was an electrician for the post office, but you can see how foggy it was. It started off really foggy and then it was torrential rain by the time we got to the top. And then when we came back down, it was hot and sunny. So yeah, the weather can change quite quickly in Snowdon. This picture here was a random picture that, yeah, my photographs are not organised. They used to be in books and I decided to pull them all out and I was going to put them year by year. So I started that and then I gave up. So they're all just higgledy-piggledy in a box now. But this is me probably when I was about 32 and I was an extra for Ocean's 11. So that is one of the fun things that I like to, well, I used to like to do in Vegas was be an extra in movies. This is an old picture. This was an old car of mine and this was our wedding day. And I don't know who did it to our car, but yeah, just married. And then they tied the cans and stuff at the back of the car. But yeah, oh my gosh. I don't even know what type of car that is. But yeah, that was fun. Now, this is a picture and this is very different in America. Now, it may have changed in England now, but when you go to a wedding, you generally don't wear white and you generally don't wear black to a wedding. But in America, it's perfectly acceptable to wear black to a wedding. So that was my little outfit. Me and my husband, we went to a co-worker's wedding and it was one of the nicest weddings I've ever been to. It was really lovely. It was an outdoor wedding and the bride walked in and they went over a little bridge and stood on the other side of the water and got married, and we all sat on either side and watched them get married. It was really, really nice. And then we all went inside for the food part and the disco part, but they entered, you know how they enter to a piece of music, and it was Elvis. And I think it was Viva Las Vegas, and they walked in and then down this huge staircase to make their entrance. It was really fun. Another fun thing that we got to do when we lived in England is we got to take a group of teenagers to, where was we based? We were based in Germany, but we went across to Austria to go whitewater rafting. Now I can't find that picture. We had a really good picture of us in the whitewater rapids. They were on the bridge taking, you know, the photographs of people. But we did go mountain biking. This is me. And this was in Germany. We also went rock climbing. This is me. Rock climbing and rappelling. This is my husband. He's getting all, oh gosh, that's so bad. Suited and booted, ready to do some rappelling. And this was our view in Germany when we were camping. How pretty is that? I'm actually stood on the basketball field. This was such a fun weekend. I think it was like 3 or 4 days. But yeah, that was the morning we were about to get on the coach and go whitewater rafting. This picture made me laugh. This is one of our more formal pictures. I can't stand this picture. I hate it so much. It's so cringy. I think I was 23 in this picture. So, you know, I love dogs, and we had a German Shepherd before this last German Shepherd, and how I came to love German Shepherds was my aunt and uncle had a German Shepherd when I was a child. Her name was Jade. She was a really lovely, gentle, sweet German Shepherd. And this is me sleeping with her in their house as a teenager. What magazine is that? Puzzler. Let's see those old magazines. Puzzler, that's an old picture, isn't it? Anyway, I think I was probably about 12 there. So when I was a teenager, I told myself, when I grow up, I'm going to get a German Shepherd of my own. So let me show you Ross, our first German Shepherd. This was him as a puppy. Lovely little thing, Ross. And this was him when he was much bigger. Now this is a picture of our front living room of that first house. Remember I said you walked in and we had one living room, a dining room. This was the front living room with this big old sofa that my husband insisted we bought. I hated this sofa, it was so big. And then we had this grandfather clock in the background, which I also didn't like, but he insisted on buying this humongous oak furniture. It came with, it was a grandfather clock, a dining table, a side hutch, and then it was an absolutely ginormous wall unit, and you can see part of it in this photo. But this photo here is Henry, our King Charles Cavalier, our first King Charles Cavalier, Ross, our German Shepherd, and Chester, our little Cocker Spaniel. But in the background you can see part of that wall unit. It was ginormous. And we couldn't buy a house unless it had a wall big enough to fit this. So I'm glad we sold that, got rid of that. That was not my choosing. Right, so another thing, if ever you go to LA for a vacation, not too far off of the coast of LA is an island called Catalina Island, and it's gorgeous. When you go there, you feel like you're on a tropical island. That's me in the harbour of this island. It's really, really worth a day trip if ever you're in that neck of the woods. You can get on a ferry from wherever they harbour the Queen Mary. That ship is harboured there and it's a hotel. You can go on there, you can go eat in the restaurant and you can go stay on it. But wherever that is harboured, you can catch the ferry and go to Catalina Island. And when you go across that ferry, the dolphins will swim the entire way with you. And then when we got off the ferry onto the jetty, there was a sea lion and he was chasing a flying fish around the harbour. That was really, really cool to watch. But once you're there, you can rent a golf cart and drive all around the island, and they have these wild buffaloes there. It was such a cool day trip, and I really recommend, again, Catalina Island. If you're ever in that neck of the woods, I would highly recommend. I just found a couple of other photos. This was when we went camping. Ross, when he's a little bit older, he hasn't quite grown into his ears there, they're still a bit floppy. But remember I said we used to go camping all the time. This was one of the times we loaded up the dogs and we went camping. And then this was another time where we went camping, and this is Lynmouth. This is me and Ross. So that's it for today's photographs. I'm sure we'll do another one of these. I'm not sure if Maria's doing a video. I think she's on her way back from her vacation. So if Maria hasn't uploaded, pop over to her channel because she has a couple of Greece videos that are fun to watch. I just watched one last night. Actually, I need to still comment on her video. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Oh my gosh, some old photographs that I would love to show you them all, but I know the people in the photographs wouldn't want to be on a vlog. So yeah, I've got two big boxes. Let me show you. Like this, just full of photographs. And I have VHS videos of all of our like home vacations, Christmas time, camping. I hope they still are working and not being damaged because we kept him in our garage in Las Vegas. So yeah, and I'm losing my voice today and I've still got to go to work. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Pop now over to Tina and Maria's videos and I will see you on Friday for another vlog. Thanks so much. Consider subscribing. I'll see you soon. Bye.